Okay, here we go. Chapter 2.6 continued. Day 2. You with me? We all have our notes out from the day before, yes? Okay, what we're doing today is I am giving you a function, and I'm giving you the transformations that I want you to do to that function, and I want you to find a new function. One more time. I give you the function f of x equals 3x plus 7. I want you to find the new function g of x that when I take f of x, 3x plus 7, and reflect it over the y-axis, it will give me the function g of x. Does that make sense? So when I say that you are reflected over the y-axis, what are you doing? Remember I gave you the point 1, 2. And from reflecting over the y-axis, I'm going hot dog style, folding it over across the y-axis. What's happening to that point? What does that point become? It went from positive 1, positive 2 to what? Negative 1, positive 2. So the y value did not change, just the x changed. So what you're doing is you're replacing x with negative x. So I'm going to have 3 parentheses negative x plus 7. I'm replacing x with negative x because that's what it means to reflect over the y-axis. Now I want you to do the calculation. What's 3 times negative x? Negative 3x plus 7. This, ladies and gentlemen, is your new g of x function that I needed you to find. Done. Do we get that? Yes or no? Okay. Next example. Given f of x equals 2x minus 1, I want you to find g of x, which is the reflection of f of x over the x-axis. So here I go. Do we see our valley? When I reflect over the x-axis, what does it turn into? A mountain. Yes? Do we see that? So the way that happens is you are going to multiply the entire equation of 2x minus 1 by a negative on the outside, correct? So now distribute that negative into your function. So that's a negative 2x plus a 1. This is going to be our new function, g of x. Does that make sense? We good? If I'm reflecting over the x-axis, you just multiply the entire thing by negative 1. If I'm reflecting over the y-axis, you replace x with negative x and only x. You with me? Okay, same concept. Now, I want you to take this by comma by comma. So I'm saying that I want to, given f of x equals the absolute value of x, I want you to first stretch it by a factor of 4. So if I'm stretching by a factor of 4, what does that mean I'm doing? I'm sorry? Correct. So I'm going to have 4 times the absolute value of x. That is a stretch. Would you all agree with me? Now I want you to do the next comma. I want to reflect that over the y-axis. If I'm reflecting it over the y-axis, what does that mean I'm doing? Am I replacing x with negative x, or am I distributing a negative across the entire function? Which one? I'm replacing x with negative x. So this is now going to be 4 absolute value of negative x. Do we see that, yes or no? Okay, so now we're going to do the next comma, which is left 2 units. If I'm going left 2 units, what am I actually doing? I'm adding 2 on the inside of the absolute value bars. Do we all see that, yes or no? We good? And then the last one is going to be down 9 units. What does it mean to go down 9 units? We're going to simply tack on a minus 9 at the end of it. Do we understand that problem there, yes or no? Now, I would like you to think for a moment. Are you ready? If I have the absolute value function, okay, which is a valley, yes, do we see the valley? You with me? And if I'm reflecting that over the y-axis, does my graph change? No, it doesn't, does it? So the negative inside for that x does really nothing to it. Do we all understand that, yes or no? Good. Okay, the next thing, same exact concept. Take this comma by comma. The graph of g of x is the graph of f of x, which equals 4x, compressed vertically by a factor of half. So I need you to do this first. So what does it mean to compress a function? What are you doing? multiplying by a half. So I have 1/2 times 4x. What is 1/2 times 4x? 2x. So now I'm going to take 2x, and what am I going to do to it now? Reflect it over the y-axis. So if you're reflecting over the y-axis, am I replacing x with negative x, or am I distributing a negative? I'm replacing x with negative x. So this is going to give me a 2 parentheses negative x. And now do that calculation. What is 2 times negative x? Correct. This is my new g of x function. Do we understand, yes or no? Okay, keep going. The graph of g of x is the graph of f of x equals 2x, stretched vertically by a factor of 5. What are you doing? Multiplying by 5, so I'm going to have 5 times 2x, and that calculation is going to be a 10x. Does everybody understand what I just did? Then I'm going to reflect this over the x-axis. What does it mean to reflect over the x-axis? Am I replacing x with negative x, or distributing a negative to the whole thing? I'm distributing. Very good. So I'm going to have a -1 on the outside multiplied by my whole function, which is 10x. Now do the calculation. What does that give me? This is your new function, g of x. Do we understand that, yes or no? We good? Okay, keep going. What transformation changed the graph of f of x to the graph of g of x? So, listen. I have f of x, which is 2x squared. What am I doing to 2x squared to obtain 6x squared minus 1? I am going to take my 2x and I'm going to stretch it by 3. Well, how does that mean? So I'm going to check this. That means I'm going to take 3 times a 2x squared to give me a 6x squared. Okay, well that makes sense. I'm almost there, but I'm not there completely. What do I have to do next? Now I'm going to take that function. I'm going to go down 1. So that's going to be a 6x squared minus 1. Do they match? Yes, they match. So these are the transformations that I had to do. And I first did a stretch of 3. Then I did down 1. Do we understand that? Make sense? What transformations change the graph of f of x to the graph of g of x? Now, this is linear. What does linear mean? mx plus b. It's a line, right? A line has a slope and it has a b value, right? I love that. Okay, so I have f of x equals 15x minus 13. What this means is it's a positive slope line intersecting all the way down here at negative 13. Do we get that? Now, I want to change the slope of my line from a 15x to a 3x. What did I do to it? What did I compress by? Correct. So I'm going to compress this by 1/5. Why? Because the 15x times a fifth is going to give me a 3x. Does everybody understand that? Because it's a line, you have to take the slope and the y-intercept and do them individually. You with me? So how am I going from a y-intercept of 0, negative 13 to a y-intercept of 0, negative 10? I'm going up 3 units from there to make that a 3x plus, or I'm sorry, minus a 13 plus a 3 to give you a 3x minus a 10. Do we understand that? Come on, that in itself should make anybody laugh, listening to her laugh. Okay, are we good? Yes or no? She makes me smile. Okay, f of x equals negative 5x cubed minus 7. Okay, reflect over the x-axis. So I want to take this function, f of x, and I want to reflect it over the x-axis. When I'm reflecting over the x-axis, that means I'm taking the entire function and multiplying it by a negative. Do we see that, yes or no? So that's going to give me a 5x cubed plus a 7. That's what it means to be reflected over the x-axis. Are y'all good? Okay, now I want to take the same function and this time reflect it over the y-axis. When you reflect over the y-axis, you're replacing x with what? Negative x. So that is going to be negative 5 parentheses negative x cubed minus 7. Now, do you remember the words I've been using this entire time? When you do this, then do the calculation, right? Did you hear me say calculation every time? So what is a negative x times a negative x times a negative x? A negative x cubed, right? So this is negative 5 times negative x cubed minus 7. So what's negative 5 times negative x cubed? 5x cubed minus 7. Do we get that, yes or no? Okay, that's the last thing that you have on yours. Now I want you guys to do these two really fast somewhere on your paper while I pass out tonight's homework. Just find a spot. Throw it in. I mean, how can you guys seriously not see it? Jeez Louise. Okay, go at it now. Just like you did the other day. Did I pass you guys out homework? No? You guys got it this row? Okay. What up? Okay, so this one right here, what's my parent function? Absolute value of x. What's the negative do? Reflect over the x-axis because it's on the outside. What's the 6 do? Stretch of 6. What's the plus 9 do? Left 9. What's the minus 2 do? Down 2. Good. Go. Look at us. I'm such a big kid now. Cubed. Are you ready? Are you ready now? Okay, what's the parent function? And what does the 2/3 do? Compressed by 2/3, what's the minus 6 do? Right 6 plus 8? And tell me. None. Okay, everybody look at the homework I just passed out to you. Problems 1 through 5. Go comma by comma. Do the comma, do the calculation. Do the next comma, do the calculation. And then do the last comma, do the calculation, that's your answer. Do we all understand that? Yes? Comma, calculate, answer. Yes? Okay, for problems 6 through 8. If it is an mx plus b, which they all are, Do your compress or reflect, do your compress or your stretch, okay? And then do your B-value. However, if you look at number 7, what do parentheses mean? You have to do parentheses first before you can do the junk on the outside. Do we all understand that? So on number 7, you need to work from the inside out, okay? Turn it over, problems 9 through 11. These are your reflect over the x-axis or your reflect over the y-axis. If you're reflecting over the x, where does the negative go? On the outside to the whole thing. If I'm reflecting over your y-axis, what does that mean? Replace x with negative x. Number 12, the graph of f of x is shown at the right. What happens to the graph of f of x minus 3? What's happening to that? What's the minus 3 do to it? It goes down, right? Letter C says to draw the transformation. So the top graph, you're going to push it down 3 units, and then the bottom graph, you have to figure out what to do with that. And then 13 and 14 is self-explanatory. It's more review from yesterday. Questions, comments, or concerns? Please go ahead and start. The answer key is up on the podium. As you are going, you may come up and check your answers. Yes? Great. I'm done. I'm done. But I can't find my mouse to stop the recording. Stop.